We now will review what this course will be made up of. We have 10 lessons that will bring you through not only some PMP foundational information, but also some very specific risk topics. Lesson 1 will talk through PMI and the PMI RMP credential, the steps to getting your credential, how you report your experience, what you do in the case of an audit. In Lesson 2, we'll talk through some risk management concepts. Lesson 3 will be the risk management environment. We know that there are a lot of different environments in which you'll be doing your projects, and that environment plays a big role in your risk management approach. Lesson 4 is the big one. This is your project definition and PMP foundational lesson. This brings in a lot of information from the PMBOK guide. If you have your PMP, a lot of this will be reviewed for you. So we're going to talk about schedule development, budget development, the project management plan, etc. Lesson 5 is going to be risk management planning. We're going to do a deep dive on creating that risk management plan. Number 6 will be risk identification, the risk identification process, tools and techniques that we'll use, and our outcome. Number 7, we jump into qualitative risk analysis. So this is our probability and impact evaluation of the various risks. Again, if you have taken your PMP, you're going to notice that we're going to do a much deeper dive on qualitative risk analysis than you may have done in your PMP. Lesson number 8 is our quantitative risk analysis. That's where we get into the fun stuff. That is the math, the schedule and cost implications of the risk, things such as expected monetary value analysis. Number 9, lesson 9, will be our risk response planning. We'll talk through the different responses that we may take in relation to the risks that were identified. And lesson 10 will be our risk monitoring and controlling. Again, same flow of risk processes that you saw in the PMBOK guide. We're just going to go to a much deeper level with them. All right, lesson 1 is our introductory lesson. We're going to talk through the Project Management Institute, the PMI credentials, specifically the RMP, the Risk Management Professional, which is what you are preparing to sit for the exam. And then we'll do a review of the Project Management Framework, and this is going to be from the PMBOK Guide, 5th edition. Project Management Institute, may or may not be familiar with it, but PMI is the governing body over the Risk Management Professional credential. Thus the name, PMI, Risk Management Professional. PMI was founded in 1969. It is a not-for-profit organization with a focus on advancing the practice of project management globally. So it's a US-based company, but it does have a global reach. PMI is most widely known for their PMP, their Project Management Professional credential, but they do offer a varying suite of different certifications and credentials, one of them being the PMI RMP. Annual membership fees, this is important because it's going to save you money, so you're definitely going to want to get your membership at least for your first year. As an individual, it's $129. If you do have a valid college student ID, you can get your membership for $40, which is a huge savings there. And then retirees can get their annual membership for $60. And again, these are annual memberships, renewable. And again, depends on your particular role, your experience, whether you maintain that membership or not. There are some benefits to it. For you, as you prepare for your exam, one of the key benefits is that you get a free digital copy of the PMBOK guide. Now, if you are familiar with the PMBOK guide, it is the Project Management Body of Knowledge. This is kind of the flagship publication from PMI, and we are up to the 5th edition. Very important as you're preparing for your exam. That is one thing that you always want to double check. Make sure you're referencing PMBOK Guide 5th edition. You don't have to go out and buy it. If you're a member, you get that free downloadable version. There are also multiple publications coming out of PMI that you will have access to. Another one that's going to be very critical for your preparation for the RMP exam will be the Practice Standard for Risk Management. And you're going to see us referencing both of those publications throughout this class. Again, no need to go out and buy them, but definitely take advantage of the free download. Biggest savings for you as a candidate is discounts on exams. And for the RMP in particular, it does provide a pretty big savings, a pretty big benefit for you. You're going to save $150 on the RMP exam. So you're paying $129 for the individual membership. You're bringing your exam fees down from $670 down to $550. So you're getting a pretty good savings there on the exam. Definitely worth it to purchase that membership. The PMI RMP credential, let's talk about that. It was launched in 2008, so still relatively new on the scene, but definitely has a growing following and an increase in demand in the marketplace. There are RMPs in 40 countries around the world, and again, those numbers are pretty significant. We see a strong demand for the credential out there. A PMI RMP, if you have that designation, what that means is that you have experience in project management and also specialized knowledge of project risk management. So not only do you have that foundational project management experience, knowledge, tools and techniques, but then you have a deeper dive into your actual risk management practices. And if you think about project management, a lot of what we do is we manage risk, we manage uncertainty. So for me personally, it seems like the logical next credential after your PMP is to get your PMI RMP. Again, majority of the RMP candidates hold the PMP already. If you don't worry. We've had many students that actually get their RMP first. It's not super common, but it can happen. And one thing you'll notice as we go through this class is that I give you a real thorough review of those PMP concepts. That way, if it's been a while since you got your PMP, or if you don't have your PMP yet, we're going to give you that information that you're going to need in order to be successful on your exam. Again, very, very beneficial to have a strong understanding of that PMBOK guide 5th edition, and underscore 5th edition there. Make sure you're looking at the current version. Okay, there is a lot of material out there, study material out there, books that have been published. Be very careful, make sure whatever you're leveraging, it's 5th edition. Okay, it's based on PMBOK guide 5th edition. Let's talk a little bit more in detail about this actual credential. Happens to be my favorite one, by the way, so I'm a little bit biased when it comes to the risk credential. The PMI RMP candidate is able to assess and identify risks, mitigate threats, and capitalizes on opportunities. They are effective at managing uncertainty. Keep in mind that uncertainty could be positive, which would be opportunities, or it could be negative, which would be threats. And a PMI RMP has demonstrated competence in managing both of those. Right? In order to be eligible to sit for your PMI RMP, again, you do not need to have your PMP, although it is beneficial just from a learning perspective. If you have a high school diploma or an associate's degree, you're going to need to document 4,500 hours of project risk management experience. So not just project experience, project risk management experience. Has to be within the last 5 consecutive years, and you must also have 40 hours of project risk management education. Okay, so 4,500 hours of experience, 40 hours of risk management education. If you have a bachelor's degree or higher, that requirement comes down slightly. Instead of 4,500 hours, you'd actually only need 3,000 hours within the last 5 consecutive years, and your education requirement will drop down to 30 hours. And if you took any type of a PMP prep course, that would count, a portion of that would count towards risk hours. When you look across your project portfolio, your project experience, you'd simply want to go through and potentially come up with some type of an algorithm to say, okay, on average, 40% of my time or 50% of my time is managing uncertainty, is managing risk, and you can allocate hours out appropriately. The exam, all right, if you've taken the PMP exam, It's pretty similar. Okay, so same basic setup that you went through with the PMP. You're going to take your exam at a prometric location. It is 3.5 hours, so a little bit shorter than your PMP, and it's 170 questions. So 3.5 hours, 170 questions. Of those 170 questions, 20 questions are considered pre-test. And all that means is that they're simply testing out the question to see if they want to add it to the question bank. You will not know which questions are regular questions and which questions are pre-test. So you just want to approach it with the thought that they all count. All right? You will not know the difference between them. Remember to answer all questions. Anything left blank would be assumed to be wrong. So you want to make sure you answer all your questions. Now, from a timeline perspective, 3.5 hours, most students find that they take pretty close to the full 3.5 hours. So you want to be able to manage your time appropriately. When you do practice test questions, etc., be watching your timing on that. Okay, so very similar to what you may have experienced on past credentialing exams. So you want to be very diligent with your time. If you do need to take a break during the exam, your time is going to continue to move forward. So you would have to sign out, potentially if you wanted to use the restroom or get a drink of water, sign back in and go back to your computer. So just be aware of that from a timing perspective. You find out immediately after you've completed the exam whether or not you've passed or whether you failed. They'll let you know right on the screen. And then you will also receive a printed score report. Fees, again, for a member is $520. If you are a non-PMI member, it is $670. And then you want to maintain your credential. Really important piece here, credential maintenance, 3-year cycle. Within that 3 years, you must get 30 PDUs, professional development units, so 30 hours of education in the specialized field of risk management.